Okay, so you've probably seen the headlines, right? Portugal cracks down on immigration. And let's be real, that sounds pretty scary, especially if you're dreaming of moving there with your family. But what's really going on behind all that dramatic language? So let's just cut to the chase and ask the big question. Is Portugal actually closing its doors to foreign families? Well, the short answer is it's complicated. It's not a simple yes or no. The rules are changing, but they're different for different people. And figuring out which rules apply to you is the key to understanding this whole thing. And here's the secret, the part that gets lost in the noise. There isn't just one new law. There are two. Think of it as two completely separate rulebooks. One is for EU citizens and their families, and it's built on fundamental EU rights. The other is for everyone else, and it's based on Portugal's own national law. And that second rulebook? That's the one that just got a major rewrite. All right, so let's dive into that first path. You can almost picture it as a special VIP lane on the highway. It's protected by this big umbrella of European Union law. And the most important thing you need to know about this lane is it's still wide open. Nothing has blocked it. So what makes this lane so special? Well, it all comes down to something in Portuguese law called Article 15. But here's the thing. This isn't just some local Portuguese rule. It's actually Portugal's way of honoring a huge fundamental promise of the EU, that every single EU citizen has the right to move and live freely with their family anywhere they want within the Union. So who gets to drive in this special lane? Well, if you're an EU citizen living or working in Portugal, you can bring your non-EU family right along with you. We're talking your husband, your wife, your partner, your kids under 21, and even older kids or parents if they're dependent on you. It's all part of the package deal of being a citizen of the EU. And here it is, the bottom line. This is absolutely crucial. Because these rights come directly from the EU, they are basically untouchable by national governments. Portugal can change its own domestic laws as much as it wants, but it cannot touch these fundamental rights. They're shielded, protected from all these new changes. But okay, what if you're not an EU citizen? Well, this is where the story takes a sharp turn. We're now switching over to that second path, the one governed entirely by Portugal's national law. And let's just say, this road just got a lot steeper and a bit more challenging to navigate. Here it is. The single biggest change, the one causing all the anxiety. If you are a non-EU citizen living in Portugal, you now generally have to live there legally for 2 full years before you can even apply to bring your family over to join you. That is a huge, huge shift. And yeah, the new process is a lot more than just waiting. First, you have that 2-year clock ticking. After that, your family usually has to start the process from a consulate back in their home country. And you're going to need to prove everything, that you have a stable place to live, that you have enough money to support everyone, that you've got health insurance. It's a lot more paperwork, a lot more hoops to jump through. Now, that 2-year wait sounds pretty daunting, but there are a few important exceptions to know about. For instance, if you have a young child who is already living in Portugal with you, that wait can be waived. Same goes if you can prove you and your spouse were already living together for a good while before you moved. And if you're in Portugal on a special permit like an EU Blue Card or an investor visa, you're exempt from that wait too. Okay, let's zoom out for a second and put these two paths right next to each other. Because when you see them like this, man, it becomes crystal clear. We're talking about two totally different worlds operating under completely different philosophies. Just look at this. For an EU family, it's all about EU law. The core principle is the right to free movement. There's no waiting period. You basically have the right as soon as you arrive, and you apply for the card from right inside Portugal. But for a non-EU family, it's all Portuguese national law. The principle is regulated reunification. That means a 2-year wait and a process that usually has to start outside the country. It's a completely different ballgame. So, after all that, we come back to the most important question. Which path are you on? Let's forget the legal jargon for a moment and just break down what this all means for you and your family, because that's what really matters. Let's make this super simple. If you are a citizen of an EU country, or the EEA or Switzerland, and you're living in Portugal, you can take a deep breath. For you and for your non-EU family, nothing has changed. Your right to bring them with you is safe, sound, and protected by that special EU lane we've been talking about. But, and this is a big but, If you're a non-EU citizen living in Portugal on a national residence permit, your journey just got longer. Your path to being reunited with your family now has that 2-year waiting period and a whole lot more paperwork standing in the way. It's just a tougher road now.
So, what's the big picture here? This whole situation in Portugal isn't happening in a vacuum. It's actually a perfect snapshot of a much bigger dynamic playing out all across Europe right now. It's this constant push and pull between a country's own national immigration goals and the unified rights that are guaranteed to everybody across the entire EU.
And that leaves us with this massive, looming question for the future. As individual countries continue to change their rules and tighten their own priorities, how are they going to balance that with the EU's fundamental promise of free movement for its people? It's a core tension at the heart of the European project, and frankly, it's a drama that is only going to get more interesting. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.